Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar podcast. I'm excited for today's guest. He's a performance coach and speaker and a small business consultant. And what he does is he helps people take their businesses from being broken to being real, reliable, empowered, authentic, and leaders. And I'm very excited to be rocking out today with Todd Sanford. Hey, Todd, you ready to rock?
I am, man. Let's get going.
So we always start off here on a good note. Tell me a story of success that we can be inspired by.
Man, I've had some great ones. I think the one that hit me more than anything was I helped a gentleman, and this is not any way that I thought I would start off my coaching career. But I had a gentleman that was a convicted convict. He ended up growing up on the streets just on this side of the border in Texas, across from Mexico. He had no father, basically his had no mother, and about the age of 8 to 10, he started living on the streets. Ended up getting in drugs, got caught up, ended up in prison for drugs and different things. Had 4 kids, and really just was, he was messed up from early on, had no guidance, no nothing. So he had moved down to my neck of the woods, and he was working for a farmer, and they hired me as a financial coach to help him get out of debt, to help him kind of learn how to manage his money because nobody had ever taught him. And long story short, the guy he had been sober for 3 years. He had had a job for 8 years, and he was really doing good all by himself. But they hired me as his financial coach. I come in, I start looking at his finances, and I realized real quick, there's not a lot of coaching to be done here. The guy just didn't make enough money. He was paying $1,000 child support a month, and he just, at the end of the week, he just didn't have any money. So we started working on that. Long story short, we got him a huge pay raise from his employer, which was funny because his employer hired me to help him. It's, I ended up getting his employer to give him a big pay raise. But the success of it was this. We would coach for 15 minutes on finances. We'd go over his budget. We'd look at all his information. But the last 45 minutes, we talk about what it meant to be a father, what it meant to be a man. He was a 40-year-old man that had never had another man, never had any man in his life show any interest. And by me just showing some interest and helping him along the way, I have 3 grown kids. I've been married for 31 years, successful businesses, and for me just showing interest and us just sitting there for 45 minutes every week and me giving him guidance on what it really meant to be a successful man. And I'll never forget at the end of our coaching session, I told him, I said, you don't know how proud I am of you. Now this guy's been in prison, spent 3 years in prison. He's a tough guy. And I could tell when I said that, I was like, something's not right. He's like a upset or something. And I said, what's wrong? What did I say something wrong? He goes, no, I've just never had anybody tell me that they were proud of me. He's 40 years old. So for me, I can tell you a lot of successful things that I've done, but for me, that was the most successful in my eyes because I didn't just coach the guy. I changed how he looked at himself, which in turn, my belief is if you can change one person, then you can change generations. If I changed him and what he saw in himself and what he believed he was capable of doing, then he could teach his 4 kids, hey, this is what you need to do to be successful in life. You don't have to go to prison. You don't have to live on the street. And he had already done that. I was just supporting him and encouraging him. But by telling him I was proud of him, I think that just changed his whole demeanor and who he was going to be from then on out. So that I'd say that's my biggest success. I've had a lot of great successes, but that one really touched me, and maybe it's because it was my first client. I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, well, your first client, you never forget them, right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
it's incredible. I mean, I just feel so upset sometimes about just our whole system of how we teach people. We don't teach them finances. We don't teach them, any of the real things that happen once you get out of school, right? And we're teaching them things that they're not necessarily gonna use. And then, like you say, I mean, there's lots of broken families out there, and so the good news is that there are ways that we can get out of that. There are mentors out there that'll help us, and you're one of them, right? There's lots of people that are open and willing and wanting to help other people, and kudos to that employer too for to help his employees. That's blowing my mind right there. Just that
You
part of the
know,
story.
that was so cool because I knew the man. We were actually at a 4th of July parade, and he happened to be parked next to me, and I knew him, and so I walked over and just talked to him, and he was asking me, "Well, how's ranching going? How's this going?" And I told him, I said, "Well, I've started a new coaching business, and I'm real excited about it." Kind of told him, and he goes, "Man, I got a guy I want you to work with." And just boom, we made the deal right there. And I was just like, "Oh man, this coaching stuff's easy. Boy, I got my first client just right off the bat." Which is not that easy. So we're talking about working from home and about how, what, how hard it is, or how important it is. And it is hard. It's very hard. And, but at the end of the day, so rewarding because um, before we started the podcast, we were talking about me being a firefighter, and I did that for 29 and a half years, and it was just a amazing career, but always had a boss over me. Even when I promoted up to be assistant fire chief, I was the number 2 fire chief. I had a fire chief over me. I had a city manager over me. I had a city council over me. So there's always somebody that's over you that you have to be accountable. And we all are. I'm sitting in my office right now today, and I'm still accountable. My secretary, which is my wife, is sitting in the other room. I'm accountable to her. We're all still accountable, but it's just so nice to be able to not have to answer to the boss, to run your own business, I choose what I do. I choose if I'm going to get up and make calls today to get those clients to go out there and do videos and that's what I do a lot. I do a lot of videos uh out at my ranch with my livestock and stuff behind me because people don't see that. Most people are city folk. They don't, and even if they are from a smaller community, that really don't have cattle or sheep. And so I like to go out and I do videos with me teaching people and informing them of my coaching business. But I put that in the background because the one thing about me is just I am an old country boy. I was just an old firefighter. Now I'm an old country boy. But because of what all I've seen in life and because of all the experiences I have, I really think I have a real good grasp on what it means to help people. And like you just said, so many people are hurting these days. So many people just need somebody to lift them up. And I always tell people, I never was a cheerleader, but my wife was. She was a cheerleading sponsor. My daughter was. I drove the cheerleading bus for 4 years while she was a coach, cheerleading coach. So I know a little bit about cheerleading. So that's kind of what us coaches do. We're just big cheerleaders that we get you going so you can keep going.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, the accountability portion of it, that is really big. Now, I think as a business owner, you're more accountable to your customers now. Your customers are now your bosses, right? But the
Exactly.
good news there is that, your customers, okay, sure, some of them can be unreasonable. Give them that. However, you don't need to continue to work for that customer. You can always, move on and work with customers that are more agreeable to more in line with what you want. So, like you say with the boss, I mean, once you're in a career and you're climbing up that ladder, it's a big deal to just
Yeah.
leave that job and go somewhere else if you don't like who you have to be accountable to. But as a business owner, we do have a lot more flexibility in that where we can just kind of, okay, I'm not feeling this client. I'm gonna move to somebody else, right? Yeah.
And that's important to say to your listeners is, when you start off, yeah, you are kind of tied. If you're just getting going, man, you got to take any client you can
Yeah.
because you gotta pay the bills. But the good thing is stick with it. Keep going, keep working because once you get to that point where you're successful, you no longer have to take those clients that you don't like. You know, you do your 30-minute onboarding call or your interview to see if it's a fit. And if you don't like it, if you don't like their attitude or you don't like what they're wanting, man, you just say, I don't think this is a good fit. And you hang up and you go on to the next one. And that's the great thing about working from home, being your own boss. You don't have to. Now, like I said, when you're starting off, sometimes you do. Sometimes you have to put up with those. But just for somebody here to tell you, it won't always be like that. It will not always be that way.
And those experiences, I mean, hey, you're probably actually not even gonna see that it's not the right fit right at the beginning. You have to kinda have that experience to know what to look for,
You're
right?
right.
It'll be one of those things where you'll be knee deep in it going like, "Okay, this is not what I'm looking for." Then that experience will be something that you'll be like, "Okay, well, let me notice the signs a little bit earlier next time," right?
Yeah.
But speaking
But
of
you
which,
will
I mean,
pick up earlier. Once you've done it for a while, you'll pick them up right away. You'll go, "Oh, yeah, this is not for me right here."
yeah, you bet. Which is kind of touching a bit on the bad note, I'm sure. Like, what are some things that didn't go, or one thing that didn't go as planned, in your business that we can learn from?
Man, I'd say that, so I went through an organization to become a certified coach. I'd already gone through Dave Ramsey right before COVID hit. I got my certification as a financial coach through Dave Ramsey. And of course, COVID hit. Zoom was not a thing or it wasn't widely known at the time. So, basically, if you were a coach from home, once COVID hit, you were done. I mean, you couldn't go meet with people in person, so you were just done. Now we can do everything through Zoom, and so it's wonderful that we can work from home. It's technology has been just amazing. But so I went through a company called Kingdom Builders Academy. Excuse me, it's a Christian organization that I found and just really got knee deep into that. And what they do is they teach you from day one all the way through the process of how to become the very best coach and how to go about it to get clients. Well, man, I started off and I like I told you, I got that first client boom. And then, man, it was a drought. And I because I was when I first started off, it was strictly as a financial coach. Well, what I found out was everybody that I would call to get their input or talk about being a coach to them, they were all my friends and all of them were financially secure. And so I was getting no clients and got so frustrated and wanted to quit. Just wanted to quit because it just wasn't panning out. Spending all my time in the office, making calls, sending emails, and it just wasn't working. But what I figured out was if something doesn't work, don't keep doing the same thing over and over. Change what you're doing. So I changed who I was helping. And once I changed who I was helping, I picked up a little more, speed and a little more moving. And then that really wasn't going like I wanted. And so then I moved over to working with businesses and their employees. And then it started really gaining traction. And so you just, I love my passion is helping people. And so when I say, what hurt me or what was bad about mine is, I want people to know, and it doesn't always just take off. It doesn't always work out like you think it is. but that doesn't mean that it's not going to work out. You just have to change. You've got to find your niche. You've got to find your clients. You got to find your people and who you're going to help. And then once you do, man, it's off to the races. So don't get discouraged, or don't quit. I think we all get discouraged at
Yeah. Yeah.
times, but just don't quit. Just keep going. You know, I heard a thing one time, and I forget who said it, but they said, for every no that you get, you're just one more closer to that yes. So just keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And you know what? That's, that trajectory is pretty common. Like typically when you come out of the gate, you get some excitement. Maybe, there's a network of people that you can tap into uh, to get a couple clients, and things might go really well right at the very beginning, right? Then once you've tapped that network, it's like tapping, your entire network from when you were a kid all at once. You're going to get whatever that number is of clients. And now, so now what? Right? So it is really typical that you'll actually have a little bit of success coming out of the gate, but then a real big drought for a while because now you've got to basically start over again and like from scratch, which is why I think one of the best advice that I've ever heard is build your network before you need it. Like, now's the best time to start building that network because eventually you will need that network. But also, like you just said, there's lots of different, strategies that you can take. There's lots of different pivots that you can make that are still within your business. Just slightly moving around a little bit to see if you can maybe, okay, maybe this is the niche I want. Maybe this is the niche I want, right? And eventually you'll get a hit, right? Hit on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. We, I competed this year in the Great American Speak Off. And so we traveled around and I was speaking, and we went to Florida to compete a couple of times. And I just got named one of the top 30 speakers in the world. And while we were up there, and while we kept going back and forth to Florida from Texas, and we would get there, and probably because of my country draw, probably because of my cowboy hat, people would go, man, we want to come out and just hang out with you for a weekend. We want to come to your ranch and do that. And so it was so crazy. We had so many people telling us this everywhere we went that we're in the process of making a retreat at my ranch where you can
Yeah.
come out for the weekend, hang out with us. It's not really, I wouldn't call it a dude ranch. You're going to get to ride horses and but you're just going to come out, see the livestock, see the wildlife. You're going to get to stay in our little mini houses that we put up and just hang out with us. But that's one of those things when you see an opportunity to do something to make it, man, you jump on it. I mean, when I got into the speaking and I was traveling around the country, that's the last thing in the world on my mind was we were going to have some kind of retreat where people could come out and hang out with us. But I saw the opportunity to have another little business to make good money and have people come hang out with us. So yeah, as you're going along and you get in that drought, you just keep chugging along. And when you find that one thing or two or three, I'm selling many houses now. I ended up meeting a realtor that called me after 3 months after we were at the Great American Speak Off and says, man, you are so charismatic. People love you. You just attract people. And we want to do business with you. We want you to go into this mini house business with us. So not only do we, coach and ranch and speak, we're selling mini houses now all over to ranchers and hunting cabins in the state of Texas. And it's just been amazing. So you just keep looking for those opportunities. And when you find a fit, maybe jump on it. And don't get stuck in that one little deal telling yourself, oh, this is all I can do. No, I've got so many irons in the fire. I don't know if I'm coming or going, but that's how I live. And I love it. I love that.
Love it. Yeah, and I love how you're, the part of your business and part of your draw is like just who you are. It's just creating this experience, right?
Yeah.
Going around the ranching and all that other stuff. Like, and I think that's It's important to be kind of authentic to who you are because it's going to attract certain people. Maybe it'll detract certain people too. Right? And that's probably one of the reasons why people don't become authentic. They're like, well, no, I don't want to offend anybody. I want to be, but just be exactly who you are because the people that are going to want to work with you are going to love exactly who you are. Right.
Yeah. When I was a captain in a firehouse, I had a rookie come in one day and he says, Cap, says, you don't have a lot of people that really like you. Said, but everybody respects you. And I actually got up and I went to my room and I was pretty upset. I was pretty heartbroken because I thought, man, I thought everybody liked me and you want everybody to like you. But as I sit there and I thought about what he had said, I thought, you know what? I'm okay with that because I wasn't a hard officer. I was a hard officer to work with. When I would say, let's clean the station, and I would go find dirt piled behind the door that they just swept or something, I would get all over them. But the thing was, if I could not rely on them to do the small things and do them right, how could I rely on them at a fire, an emergency scene, to do what I needed them to do? And so I was on them. But to be respected meant I was authentic. I was real. I was, exactly. And that's how I came up with the coaching course that I do, Be Real. And it's called Reliable, Empower, Authentic Leader, because that's how I lived my life is, I had a father that was an alcoholic that was not reliable. He'd say, I'll be at your game, and he never was there. And it got to the point where I was finally in high school and I started asking him not to come to my games because if he did, he was so drunk, he embarrassed me. And then empowerment, man, the world is trying to take all your power away from you. They're trying to just, they don't want you to have any empowerment at all. They don't want you to be who you need to be, who you want to be. They're trying to tell you who to be. And then authentic is just being real, having integrity. And that's what I take great pride in. And I think that is coming from my dad. He was a car salesman, and I would watch him lie to people and then get in the truck after he made a sale and go, you see what I did there? And I thought, man, that's just wrong. And so I've always tried to be real authentic, real truthful. And then a leader, when I talk about being a leader, it's not necessarily in your business. It's just like if we're working from home, we still have to lead our families. You have to lead your kids. And I tell everybody, I'm sick and tired of getting up every day and seeing how men should not be the leaders of their family. I totally disagree. And when I say that, I don't mean that you push your wives down, you keep your kids down. No, I mean you lift them up and you help them succeed by leading. But if something happens and it's time for you to take care of them, you put them behind your back and you're that strong safety for them. You're that man that is supposed to protect your family. So that's what I mean by leadership. You don't have to be the CEO of a company. Just be CEO of your family.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of misconceptions in the world about certain words, and sales is one of them. People think sales are bad. Sales is done. Sales is just communication. But the other one is leadership. I think when people think about leaders, they think about bosses. And I think a boss is a very different thing than a leader. Right? A
Oh,
boss is
yes.
in behind with the whip, right? I don't know if you've seen
Yeah,
that meme. Whereas a leader, like the word, you're in front. You're not pushing anybody down. You're leading. You're in the front of the pack, right? So I
that's
think
right.
that sometimes we just see these words wrong. And when someone says, "Oh, leadership is this or that," it's not. Leadership is definitely leading the way. It's showing an example, and allowing people to follow you.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about some of these little things that you were talking about earlier. So in the practice stuff. So how do you get good, stay good, and keep up on your craft in your business?
Man, I have the top coaches in the world that help me. And the reason I do that is I hire and I pay more money than I charge to have the very best coach me. Tamara Lowe, Zach Lowe, they're my coaches. My personal coach, I meet with her every Thursday. We have our group coaching session. Is the former Mrs. United States of America 2020. Bria is unbelievable. She's beautiful inside and out. And that is my coach. Whenever I was competing for the Great American Speak Off, I flew to Wisconsin and I had the number one speaking coach in the world coach me on how to speak. And that's what you have to do. And that's why it's so important to surround yourself with the very best people so you can be the very best. And I do that, we meet, I don't know, I probably meet at least 4 hours a week on making myself better with coaches. That doesn't count who I'm helping. It's just strictly 4 hours a week that I meet with other coaches that help me be the very best.
Wow. Where do you think this mindset came from? Because a lot of people really do have a block with hiring people to help them in their lives. What do you think that why don't you have that block?
Well, because I guess you could say a realist, or I take a common sense approach to everything. Uh, when before I became a rancher, or let's say I was a rancher, um, they sent me to St. Louis, a company that I bought feed, a feed store. They sent me to St. Louis for a week to spend at Purina learning how important that feed and minerals and nutrients for your cattle were. Because even though I'd been raised my whole life raising livestock, I needed to know the proper way, because at that time I had 120 pair of mom cow calf operation, and I needed to know how to make the most money and produce the very best calves that I possibly could. And so what do? You go to Purina and they teach you. You spend a week learning. You know, to be the very best firefighter, I went through an academy to be a firefighter. And then every single day of my career, I studied at least 30 minutes on the newest technologies out there on firefighting. If you don't know, if you're not a professional in something, why reinvent the wheel? Go find somebody that's out there that's already invented that wheel and learn from them. And that's the way I've always done it. That's the way I believe. Why waste? My time's too valuable. I got way too much stuff going on to try to teach myself new things. If I can go out there and find the experts to teach me, and they've already made all the mistakes. I went to Kingdom Builders Academy, and Tamara Lowe talks about she spent 20 years, grinding and doing all this stuff that she learned that she's teaching us. Why would I want to go through that 20 years? I don't have 20 years left. I'm an old man. I need to learn it now so I can start making a difference in people's lives now. So that's my theory on life. Not everybody has money that they can do, but I've got a niece that I hired to help me with my coaching business, and she's signed up for Kingdom Builders this week. And I told her, I said, sometimes you just have to jump off in faith. You just got to spend a little money and believe that this is the right thing. I'm a spiritual person. I'm a Christian. I believe that you got to have faith. You got to pray. And when those opportunities arrive, you got to jump out there and do them, because I don't think things just happen. Sometimes they're put there for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Man, you make it make so much sense. But it's
Well, I, I told you I was a firefighter. 2015, I was in an attic fighting a structure fire. The entire ceiling collapsed. I fell, landed on my head. I broke my neck in two. I was completely paralyzed. I was not breathing, and I only had a few minutes left to live. Well, I'm here today, so obviously they were able to fix me. But whenever you face the end, And I faced it 3 different times in my career as a firefighter. All 3 times they didn't think I would make it. When you face that reality, you realize how short life really is. And so you want to live every single day to the max, because today may be the last day. 30 years of watching people wake up in the morning, go to work, but on their way to work, they have a car crash and they die, or somebody in their family does, or the 30, 40-year marriages that they went to bed at night, kissed each other, said, we'll see you in the morning. And the husband or the wife didn't wake up because they died of a heart attack. You realized how really, really short life is. So you want to go out there and you want to make every day count. I love I believe it's Tim McGraw's got a country song that says, you know, live today like it's your last day, or live every day like it's your last, because the guy's dying of cancer. So what are you going to do? Man, I'm going to go skydiving. I'm going to go ride a bull. I'm going to live today like it's my last day. Well, that's kind of how I look at life. I think you got to live every day to the fullest, because folks, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So live your life today. And for me, what makes me happy is helping others, help others become better people. That's what I was called to do. And that's what I love doing.
Yeah. Well, and the way I look at whether you want to spend the money or whatever it is, or spend the time on some sort of coaching program, I think it's a matter of just kind of looking at where you are right now and asking yourself if you're happy. And if you're happy with what's going on, then great, keep going.
Exactly.
But if you're not, and there's something that's really bugging you, well, I think that everybody takes that time or that money and they use it to either buy or spend it on pacifiers like TV or entertainment or whatever it happens to be. They're spending that money somewhere,
Yes.
right? I mean, they've got it, it's going somewhere. And when someone says, "Oh, I don't have the money," well, you tend to not look at that. You look at the food and the rent, and you're like, "Oh, I can't because I'm buying all this stuff." No, not the money that you're going to use for the coaching program or whatever it happens to be. For money that you're spending on the entertainment and all that other stuff that you don't need to be spending on, take that
Exactly.
money and put it into something for your future and just flip your path. Well, then why not? That now all of a sudden you've bought time or you bought something
Yeah.
that, a life that you want, right?
It's a $5 Starbucks coffee every day when you go to
Mhm.
work. What are you doing? What are you doing if you're having a hard time making your finances, get to where they need to be? Man, it's so simple. When I look at people's budgets and I have them actually put it on paper, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea I spent that kind of." It's very simple, and you're exactly right. We invest in what's important to us. So, the old saying, and go look at your checkbook. Where your money goes is where your heart is, or where your time is. And my deal is, why in the world would you get up every day and do the same thing over and over and expect anything to change in your life? If you get up and do the same thing every day, you know what you're going to be doing in a year from now? The same thing you're doing today. You're not going to have any more money. You're not going to have any more freedom. You're going to be doing the same thing next year as you are today. And it's scary. But you know what? The graveyard is full of people that were scared, and they're full of dreams and ideals that people never followed up on because they were scared of failure. Man, how many times did I was on a podcast the other day and I said Benjamin Franklin, and I meant Edison, Thomas Edison. 10,000 times he failed making the light bulb. 10,001, the light bulb worked. And now we're sitting here because of a man that refused to quit. Failure is just part of life. Failure, like I said a while ago, failure is just one more step closer to success.
Bet. Right on. Well, with that, time for less solos. Tell me what's exciting in your business right now.
Man, what's exciting? Uh, so we are just, it's just so much going on. we're speaking this Friday in front of all the CEOs at the YMCA of Texas. So there's about, I think, 80 people going to be there, and they're all executives. And so we're going over and we're going to speak to them. Uh, we've got a new program coming out. Me and my wife, we're going to do a marriage group coaching, and we're going to talk once a week. We're gonna call it a power hour, and we're gonna do it to couples. Now, individuals can come on, of course, but we're gonna do it for couples. And we looked at doing this about 6 months ago, and we were gonna kind of do it as a high ticket item where couples would come on and we just support them. But we've changed our whole philosophy on it, and it's going to be a really low ticket. We're talking like $97 a month. And we're going to have couples come on, and we're going to coach them for an hour a week. We're going to put a Facebook group together, and we're just going to meet, and we're going to support and love on each other. We're going to have breakout sessions where we get to know each other. The men will break out, the women will break out. And then at times we'll swap up, and I'll go over to the women's side, and they can ask me questions on, what they're, it's kind of scared to ask their husbands maybe. And same thing with my wife. She'll go over there, and we're just going to take that, and we just want to make couples stronger. Me and my wife's first date, we were 6 years old. We went to a drive-in movie theater with our older sisters. They threw us in the back seat. And I tell everybody, I've been with my wife for 50 years now, because we were 6 years old when we first went out. Now, that's not true, but we did start dating in 7th grade. So we've been together for well over 40 years. And we just want to help other people, other couples. And it's hard these days. It's hard when you're younger and you got smaller kids, but it's also hard. We just became empty nesters. Our daughter, our last child, is in college. She's a sophomore. And it's hard because you're having to get to know each other again. And so we just really want to do that. And we don't want to price people out of it. So that's why we're just doing it $97, $100 a couple to come in. And we're hoping that thing's going to take off. We're also, like I said, I'm selling the mini houses, but I got 2 of them coming in because we're going to put them on our ranch, and we're going to have resorts. We're going to have people come out for the weekend, hang out with us, and we're just going to talk. I just got a coaching client this last week, and she was a realtor. We talked about, I gave a speech at the realtors, all the employees. And after it was over with, me and her hooked up and talked about, what I could do for her. And I'm thinking the whole time, I'm going to build her up where she can sell. And I'm going to help her learn how to sell more houses, how to list more. No, she's a mother of 5 kids. Her husband's a military officer. She says, Todd, I give every single thing I have to my kids. I have nothing left at the end of the day. My husband gives everything to his job. So he has nothing. Said he's a wonderful man, but he has nothing for me. She goes, I need somebody in my corner. I need somebody to cheer me on, to build me up. And that's what I'm passionate about. I want to be that cheerleader for people. I want to lift them up and take them to new levels. And a lot of times that's all you need. You need one person in your corner telling you you can do that. And so that's where our coaching business is right now. And we're really wanting to I want to change it over a little bit to instead of talking to corporations, I want to get back to the one-on-one with the individuals, and I want to be their cheerleader. I want to help them grow to levels they never thought possible.
That's awesome. So how do we find out more then?
Man, go to www.sanfordcoaching.com. That's my website. You'll see all our coaching programs. You can email me at sanfordcoaching@gmail.com. So anyway, Sanford Coaching, you'll find me. If you go to Todd Sanford on Facebook, you'll see all my quirky videos. I always like to relate what's happening at the ranch to my coaching programs, and Instagram, Sanford Coaching. But yeah, sanfordcoaching.com. That's the best way. Man, if you want to hook up with me, just have a free call. or if you want to get my free, if you go down there and you book a call with me or sign up, I will send you my free Be Real digital course. It's a $97 course, but if you go sign up to, after hearing this podcast, I'll be happy to send it to you for free.
I like free stuff. Sure.
And it's a good course. I tell you what, they paid me $1,000 and sent me to Denver to do it professionally in a no, whatever they call those places where you do all that. Yeah, and it was they did that and videoed me and did all that digital stuff and put it together for me. So pretty excited about that course. And like I said, I just want to benefit people and kind of help them out. And so I'd love to give it to them for free.
Well, thank you so much, Todd, for rocking out with me today. This has been a lot of fun.
I love it, man. Thank you so much for having me. I know you, man, you're the man. You're out there helping people and you're helping them work from home, which is exciting because I think that's where most of us are going.
Right.
That don't want that man over us. We just want to be our own bosses. So thank you so much for having this and providing this to your listeners, man. This is great.
Thank you so much. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment, and we'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.